Welcome back to Pause and Respond. I'm Josua Rine, licensed professional counselor. Today we're talking about something that quietly affects almost every relationship, every workplace, and almost every emotionally exhausted person walking around right now. And that's the honesty gap. The gap between what you feel internally and what you communicate externally. Because a lot of people are not actually communicating from clarity. They're communicating from a position of filter. They're editing, softening, managing reactions in order to avoid discomfort. They're trying to not upset people or trying to not look weak, trying to not create tension. So internally they feel one thing, but externally they say something completely different. And over time, that gap creates emotional exhaustion. It creates confusion, anxiety, resentment, distance, and the mental noise that so many of us hear in the background. Because the nervous system was never designed to carry constant emotional contradiction. And most people do not realize how disconnected they've become from their honest internal experience. And that's what we're going to unpack today. Most people are living inside two conversations at all times. The internal conversation and the external one. The internal conversation sounds honest. It may be telling us that we feel hurt or dismissed, or that we're feeling frustrated and needing help. Maybe that others are crossing boundaries in our life, or that we're feeling disconnected. But external conversations often sound filtered on these feelings. They sound like I'm good or I'm fine or whatever you want. It's not a big deal. And people do this so often that eventually filtering just becomes automatic for them. They stop asking themselves, what do I actually feel? And they start asking themselves, what version of this feeling is safest to communicate? That changes everything. Because now communication is no longer built around honesty. It's built around emotional risk management. And emotional risk management creates emotional distance, especially in close relationships. Because people cannot deeply connect with a version of you that is constantly being edited. Now, to understand the honesty gap, you have to understand fear. Because fear is usually what changes the message, not lack of awareness. Most people already know what they feel. They just do not trust what honesty might have cost them. Fear says, if I say this, they may reject me. Or if I bring it up, it may create conflict. Fear tells us that if we communicate clearly, it may be disappointing to someone. Or that if we say no to something, people may think differently about us. So people begin shrinking themselves emotionally. Not usually all at once, but gradually. They soften boundaries, they minimize their needs, they swallow feelings of frustration. They avoid difficult conversations. And externally, this often looks to be mature. It gives the appearance of being calm, easygoing, flexible, low maintenance. But internally, many of these people are carrying enormous amounts of unspoken tension. Because suppression and the accumulation of it creates emotional pressure. And eventually, that internal pressure, it begins to leak. It begins to show up in their behavior through irritation or sarcasm. Maybe they withdraw or feel coldness, or maybe just daily mental exhaustion. The emotion always comes out somewhere. Always. The one thing I see constantly is people performing emotionally stability instead of actually experiencing emotional clarity. They've learned how to look regulated, but internally, they're overwhelmed. This is especially common in high-functioning adults. People who are responsible, dependable, hardworking, helpful, people who tend to carry a lot with them. Many of them learned early in life that emotional expression has the potential to create problems, so they adapted. They became composed, controlled, and self-contained. The problem is self-containment without self-honesty eventually becomes emotional isolation. But nobody actually knows what's happening inside of you anymore. And after enough time, you may not know fully either. This is one of the reasons people suddenly, quote, burn out. Not because the current moment was too much, but because they spent years emotionally carrying all their internal feelings silently. The honesty gap for them has become chronic. And eventually, the nervous system runs out of capacity for storage. A lot of people think relationships fail because of communication problems. But many communication problems are actually just honesty problems. Because couples are often communicating without communicating clearly. They talk, but they do so with a filter. They answer questions without giving the honest answers. They respond to "how are you" with "I'm okay." What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Did that bother you? No. Meanwhile, internally, they feel hurt, disconnected, and lonely, maybe even frustrated or overwhelmed. Now, here's the problem. When honesty disappears, the guessing begins. And relationships become emotionally exhausting when people constantly have to guess what is actually happening underneath the surface. This is why emotional clarity matters. Not perfection, but clarity. Because healthy relationships are not and will not be built on mind reading. They're built on honest communication delivered with regulation and respect. The nervous system experiences contradiction and stress, and that's important. When your internal reality and external communication constantly conflict, the body feels that tension. Because psychologically, you're carrying two realities simultaneously. What you actually feel and what you are presenting. That takes energy. It takes a lot of energy. This is why some people feel exhausted after social interaction. Not because they dislike people, but because they spent the entire interaction filtering themselves. They were monitoring themselves, editing themselves, suppressing themselves. And eventually that creates emotional fatigue. Because authenticity is psychologically lighter than performance. Now, that doesn't mean saying everything impulsively, but it does mean learning how to communicate honestly enough that your nervous system is no longer carrying constant emotional contradiction. This is where the pause and respond framework changes the entire process. Instead of immediately reacting or immediately suppressing, the idea is to simply just pause. And during that pause, you begin to ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Not, what should I say? Not, what keeps everyone comfortable? Not, what avoids tension? But simply, what is true? That question alone changes people's lives, because many people have spent years disconnected from honest internal awareness. Then after identifying the feeling, you communicate clearly and calmly. Not looking for perfection. We're looking for clarity. And those things might sound like, honestly, I think I minimized how much that affected me. It may sound like, I think I've been trying to act okay, but I'm actually frustrated. Or maybe it's just simple, I need to be more honest about something. That kind of communication closes the honesty gap. And when the honesty gap closes, mental clarity increases. Relationships improve. Resentment begins to decrease. And the nervous system calms down. This is because alignment creates peace. The goal is not emotional intensity. The goal is emotional alignment. Alignment between thoughts and feelings and between communication and behavior. Because people become emotionally exhausted when those systems constantly conflict with each other. And the only thing that reconciles them and reconnects them is honesty. Not brutal honesty, not impulsive honesty, not emotionally reckless honesty, but regulated, clear, mature honesty. That's the advantage. This week, I want you to notice where you are filtering yourself the most. Where are you saying, I'm fine, when internally it isn't? Where are you minimizing what you feel? Where are you editing yourself so heavily that people no longer even know the real version of you? Awareness is where honesty starts. And honesty is where clarity begins. If this episode connected with you, the new book, Pause and Respond, The Honesty Advantage, goes much deeper into emotional clarity, overthinking, communication. You can get that book and workbooks and other Pause and Respond resources and coaching information from pauseandrespond.com. And if this episode helps you, share it with someone who constantly feels emotionally exhausted from carrying too much. Because many people are not overwhelmed by life itself. They're overwhelmed by the gap between what they feel and what they say. This is Pause and Respond. Less reaction, more choice.